you'll probably find a lot of these are broken, bent. It's just amazing how they just don't care when they're working on these things. They just smash the stuff in, they don't line it up and break it. What I have found to work pretty well for fixing these, if you have the time, is get some JB Weld, mix it up thoroughly, coat it, get these straight and coat it on there and let it dry, and that will harden a lot like this plastic. And I found that lasts, like that has not broken when I've done that. So that's what I would recommend if you are wanting to really fix these up. Let me show you how to fix, or somewhat fix. Sometimes these are not fixable, but where they've broken this tab up, I've straightened it up as much as I could. I'm actually going to take a little finishing nail here so that it has a little support. I'm just going to put a piece of electrical tape around the bottom of this nail for now so that it will hold it in place. That way it's got a little foundation here, and then what I'm going to do is mix up some JB Weld, put it on there, and that way I need to put some tape on the top here too, and that way that'll have some structure and support, and then it'll probably do a pretty decent job afterwards. I find this stuff just works the best of all the different things I've tried to fix with. So you just get an equal amount of each side of the epoxy. The steel and the hardener. I'm just mixing them on a piece of cardboard here. And I just throw away the cardboard when I'm done. I also just tore off a piece of cardboard to mix with, because I'm just doing such a small amount here. You want to mix it till you get a real good gray consistent color. You don't want to have any black or tan parts in it, because those will not harden. They'll just make a mess. But once you get a real good gray mix, then you're ready to proceed. Keep in mind, this doesn't harden for several hours, so you're going to have to know that this is not going to be solid until the next day, probably. So you want to plan accordingly so that you don't need to replace this piece in your car. Just about like that, when that makes it harden, and it'll be strong enough you'll have a hard time telling that that wasn't like that from the factory. This other piece here, they've mangled quite a bit. I don't know if I can maybe try to bend that with a needle nose plier or something. You gotta be careful, because start bending stuff, you can break it. I may just take a little bit of the JB on there just to strengthen that. So that'll harden probably overnight and be ready to go. After that's hardened, I'll take the tape off. That nail will be part of the repair, but it'll give it a lot of structure. A little bonus tip here. I'm not going to do it to this one. Honestly, I don't care, but there's 2 holes drilled there. I'm guessing they had some police equipment either running through those holes or perhaps something screwed onto there. If you wanted to fill those holes, the JB Weld will do a good job. You see, color-wise, it's going to be close-ish so it's not going to be super noticeable. You could probably mix a little extra steel in there to darken that if you want to. But what I would do if I was going to fill these, I'd put a piece of painter's tape on this particular one. I'd probably put it on the side that's underneath here, so the side that's you would see when this is installed in the vehicle, and just put a little JB Weld in those holes, let it dry. Once it's dry, take the tape off, and that might give it a little texture. And like I said, that'll fill the holes. It'll probably give it enough texture that it won't be super noticeable. I'm not particularly worried. Those are small holes, so I'm not going to do it on this one, but if you're needing to fill a hole, that would be one way to do it. The other alternative I've used in the past is Bondo. The problem with Bondo is you're going to have to paint it, or it's going to be really noticeable. If you had a black trim piece, I've had really good luck using the plastic black paint, either satin or glossy, depending on your taste. Bondo it, sand it down, whatever you need to do, and then paint it with that plastic paint. And I've been real happy with the results on that. So those are just some options for fixing things. Like I said, this piece here looks like I can probably just bend it with pliers. So on here, because I don't want to break the plastic, you really need to support it as best you can. So this is not a science, this is more of an art. Just trying to eyeball it as best you can. This is what happens when they're working on your car and they don't know how this stuff works, so they just start pounding it with their fist, and they bend these metal parts and they break the plastic parts, and then they don't tell you because they don't care. They don't want to have to buy you a new one because this is really expensive to replace. So there, I've eyeballed it. It looks pretty straight there. So that one will probably connect, that one will connect. Like I said, they broke that one off obviously and just threw it away. So this one should be fairly secure though.